Now, just a little warning here at the start that there will be spoilers for the latest and final episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want anything ruined, it's a really good time to click away. Okay, so my opening thoughts on this episode are that it was very good, a very enjoyable series finale, but one without many surprises or any surprises at all, really. In fact, I think this played out pretty much exactly as we all thought it would. Because, as I think we all expected from the outset, really, Sam or Falcon has officially become the new Captain America. He even has a brand new set of wings and a spangly outfit, as Iron Man might call it, given to him by the Wakandans, which was, again, to no one's surprise. I think that's what was in the box that Bucky gave him, the favor he had asked for when they came to take Zemo away. It's also a look taken pretty much straight from the comics, and I think all around it looks good. We also got this sort of inspirational speech or message out of the new Captain America, one that applies both in-universe with their current post-snap situation, but also out-of-universe or in our real world. And though I predicted in last week's review that it might happen in some sort of press conference at the end of the episode where Sam gets up there and speaks to the world, explains why he's taking up the shield now and why he didn't take it up before, and then he gives some sort of message about hope and unity. Instead, they tried to make it something more organic and spontaneous that happened in the moment and right after the big final confrontation with Carly, like it was just Sam speaking from his own mind and heart, rather than maybe reading from some prepared cue cards or something during a press conference, which makes the scene more powerful, I think, having it be, again, this spontaneous moment. Though, to be honest, it did feel a bit, I don't know, contrived or almost awkward this way. And I'm not saying that of the message itself necessarily, but rather the way they just had this little debate or discussion in the street with all these senators or whatever they were, and they seemed to forget that the cameras were on them and they spoke very candidly, which I don't think they'd ever do, even after this very harrowing experience they'd been through. They'd still be politicians first, I feel. But anyway, and I don't want to get too into it or too political here, but since this message and scene was a big part of the point of the whole show, let's discuss it. And so, honestly, I think the message given by Sam or our new Captain America was a pretty broad one all around, not overly righteous or directed wholly at one side or another. It basically started by him saying that putting labels on people is bad, and that, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. And he's certainly not wrong. These days we seem to use labels to villainize anyone and everyone who disagrees with us, and we're so quick to hand them out. We're so quick to condemn people and declare them an enemy instead of even trying to empathize or see their point of view. And the funny thing is, we used to consider it childish to sort of resort to name-calling, but now it's the go-to tactic for so many people. Also, and like I've said before, nowadays people don't look for the truth. They look to be right. They try to skew everything to fit their own narrative instead of just presenting the facts as they are and letting people come to their own conclusions. So many people today aren't interested in getting things right. They're only interested in being right and proving others wrong. Another part of this message was pretty much that global elites don't actually care about you, that the people in charge or with the power and the money are more interested in preserving power than helping anyone, that they do what's best for them instead of what's best for the people, which is exactly how many people do indeed feel these days. They feel forgotten, which is why Carly went to the lengths that she did. Though, in all reality, I do think Sam defends her a bit too much. She did kill innocent people, and I don't think that can ever be justified. And one of the failings of the show, I think, or feel anyway, is that I just never connected with Carly. I never really felt for her or her plight. We were never shown why the GRC was so bad. We're told, but never shown anything. We're never given a reason to sort of root against them other than the Flag Smashers say they're bad and that things were better before. And then, like I said, she starts killing innocent people, so I'm not feeling really any sympathy for her after that. But getting back to Sam's message now, he also made a point about how many people are not going to like him, a black man, picking up the shield and being Captain America, the symbol of the country in many ways. That millions are going to have a problem with it. And he didn't specifically say white people or anything like that, because as the series has shown us, mainly through the eyes of Isaiah Bradley, but also Sam's sister to some degree, but there are certainly black people who feel disenchanted with the country, who might take issue with him becoming the symbol of it then, who might see it as a betrayal. But, as I see it, and you're free to disagree, I think Sam taking up the shield is meant to show that he does believe in the country, or at the very least in the principles and what it can become if we stop fighting amongst ourselves. That no, it hasn't always gotten everything right, or always lived up to its founding ideals, but that doesn't mean the ideals themselves are wrong or flawed, or that they need to be discarded, and that a black man becoming Captain America proves we can get there if we can just stop looking for reasons to stay divided and start looking for reasons to unite and live by the belief that all people are indeed created equal. And I think this is shown quite well through Isaiah Bradley, who at the end we see now has been honored and recognized by the country, that he has his own exhibit in the Smithsonian, I believe it is, that even him, who certainly had every reason to hate or feel betrayed by this country that he had fought for, considering what they had done to him, that even he can begin to heal and forgive, that he can get behind the idea that Sam taking up the shield and representing something is a good thing, that he realizes all of us have to start letting go of our own personal hate and anger if we'll ever find peace, not only internally, but externally in society on the whole. And look, I'm sure there are some people who feel very differently about all that, or some people, or maybe a lot of people, who thought this all came across very heavy-handed, or didn't want it, or didn't think it was needed in the show. And if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. I do get it. I've certainly argued before that I'm not generally a fan of politics in entertainment, especially when it's very overtly done, or very heavy-handed, or very one-sided. Because usually people go to entertainment to escape politics, especially something like Marvel or Star Wars. But in this case, I do think an argument can be made that the politics or message was very relevant in universe. But anyway, let's dig into the episode itself a little bit here. And like I said at the start, I very much enjoyed it. It was good, and I think the whole series was, for the most part, very good. And also, like I said before, I think the biggest issue is that Carly and the Flag Smashers fell a little bit flat. We're supposed to see things from their perspective and sort of be rooting for them in a way, or believing them to some degree, like Sam does, but I never felt that. As for this episode, well, the first half was basically non-stop action, while the second half was resolving some things from the season while setting things up for the yet unconfirmed second season, and one that will no doubt be called Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And kind of keeping with that, I think my favorite part of this episode had to be when Bucky called Sam Cap, the ultimate sign of respect and approval right there, and it was also basically a way of saying that Steve would be proud of him as well. It was just a subtle yet perfect moment in my opinion. I was also happy to see Bucky go back and talk with Yori and tell him the truth about what had happened to his son to help him get closure, and that he even would finish his whole list. And then in one of the least surprising reveals in history, we learn that Sharon Carter is the power broker and that she got a full pardon and is going to go back to work at S.H.I.E.L.D., though in reality she'll be funneling secrets to the highest bidder. Like I said, there were certainly things setting up another season or maybe a full-on movie. Who knows where this story will continue. Furthermore, and also in regards to setting things up down the road, we saw that John Walker became U.S. agent with another costume that looks like it was ripped almost straight from the comics. We also saw him sort of get redemption in this episode when he chose to try and save people over getting vengeance on the Flag Smashers, even though Zemo would take care of them a little ways down the road by having his butler set up or arrange for the vehicle they were being transported in destroyed, while Zemo himself was chilling in the raft. And whatever they're setting up for the future, I do hope Zemo is a part of it. He was one of my favorite parts of this series. And really here, I think the underlying theme or message of the whole show is about what holding onto your hate and anger can do to you. It felt very Star Wars-like under the surface to me, because pretty much every character, save Sam, who is kind of in the middle of everything, and to be real, this was his show more than it was Bucky's. Anyway, everyone seems to be holding on to some form of anger or resentment, which was then greatly impacting their lives, or what they were doing, and or what they could or did become. Our main villain, Carly, was angry at the elites of the world and wanted things to go back to the way they were before the snap. And though you can argue she had good intentions, as soon as she started killing people, it was clear she had lost her way. She got to the point where she didn't even care if she or those following her would have to die for their cause. You then had Bucky haunted by his past and trying to make himself feel better about it, when in reality he should have been trying to make those he had wronged feel better, or at least to help them get closure. And by doing that, by helping them, he ends up helping himself. He gets his own closure. You've then got Sharon Carter, who, as the show pointed out, comes from a very sort of prestigious family who have always served their countries, but she felt so betrayed and forgotten by her country that she's now become selfish and power-hungry. She's now become the power broker, and she's willing to sell her country's secrets. And along those same lines, though going in a different direction, you have Isaiah Bradley then, who was wronged by his country and has been bitter about it his whole life until he sees this exhibit dedicated to him, an apology of sorts that says, yes, you did great things for your country, and we were wrong to treat you the way we did, which allows him to hopefully begin to let go of his anger and his hate and to move on. But anyway, I'm not going to go through all the characters, hopefully you see my point. So in closing, I think that yes, there's going to be mixed feelings about how political things got at times, but all around I think this was a pretty well written show with some great well handled characters, and one that never really resonated with me, that being Carly. And as I've said many times before, everything about this just felt like a movie, from the acting to the cinematography to the score. This was a film that just happened to be broken down into 6 parts, and they were a rather enjoyable 6 parts. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you thought about this episode or the show on the whole, so leave a comment below and let's talk some Marvel. And until next time, thanks for watching.